Solemn. Solemn is the scope of now, drifting into a pitiful domain of emptiness and low and was. Low and was, woe and loss. That's what I was trying to explain. That is what I was trying to elucidate, but failed. Once again, as I do daily, in my struggle through space-time, efforting daily in this supernatural conflict involving the gods and the demons. It's not that I'm scared as a schizophrenic. I certainly have been. But I'm overcoming the worst of the supernatural nature of the condition, and have done for some time. I can negotiate reality to some extent, and be convivial to those I meet in loveliness, more often than not. However, if they open the keyhole to my brain, they wouldn't be able to handle things too well. They would be immediately in great shock, and surprised at the darkness I hold back from the rest of the world in the name of the light which I exhibit also as the light bearer under God. But this isn't very funny. I was going to be amusing, but then I had to set up the shot. And in doing that, I grew weary of the jokes and felt like I was labouring for free once more in order to purely entertain and give my Christmas speech to the masses. Not that the masses listen. A couple of mates in Joe Ferret might listen. But the masses don't generally listen to my waffle. And I think that's because the masses have neither the patience, the time, nor the inclination to listen to great wisdom in a sustained period of these TikTok days of immediate flight of fancy of the retinas, where, like biological retards, people are just scanning through screens, looking for something of vague interest. They might pop it on once in a while. It might last 30 seconds. If they're really strong these days, they can do 5 minutes. But it's not looking like the days where we go to the cinema to watch Braveheart all too often. 3+ hours of Scottish bellicose drama against the English. What had we done in our generation to deserve that? We hadn't done that. Our English generation danced in fields in Somerset and other assorted local counties, off our heads on happy pills, sent to us somehow from the higher species of knowledge or something, you might argue. They walked our brains and confuffled our emotions, and we made love in the most exciting times we've ever had, in mud pits in strange foreign party lands. And now, as adults, we suffer from PTSD, because our minds went too elastic and absorbed into the ether of the God-granted knowledge of the world. And we can't handle easily this kind of knowledge in modernity, tripping on a daily basis, hearing the demons and the angels from God attacking us or guiding us or whatever they say. But I've heard, since 1995, thousands of voices. Thousands. And I do not equate myself with the usual humdrum mortal out there, who has never probably even heard one voice. If you haven't even heard one voice, then get out of my supernatural club. There are only 2 rules to Supernatural Club. 1. You do not talk about Supernatural Club. 2. Unless point 1 is ratified under a protocol and given agreements in a hitherto given clause of security, you may bark as much as you like openly and loquaciously about Supernatural Club, as long as that you know what exactly you are doing hitherto, nevertheless, and more so. Supernatural Club is a very dangerous club. But not dangerous to other people. Well, it might be. It depends how successful we are. But, no. It's just dangerous to us. Because, well, I'm permanently under attack as a schizophrenic. Permanently under attack from voices and hostility in the supernatural field. And I don't really enjoy it. It's not Chessington World of Adventures. It's not. It's just not great fun. It has its moments of jollity when I'm not hearing death threats and I'm pissed or stoned, and loving life in my own understanding of intelligence within a slightly more liberated, loquacious field of delight and exuberance for the love of God and the knowledge of my health, in inverted commas. But my health, you see, schizophrenia, I don't think it's an illness or a disease. Schizophrenia is not an illness or a disease. It's a condition. And that's different to an illness or a disease. Diseases are generally contagious by default of their meaning. And an illness is something generally that causes pain. Because if you've got pain and you've got something wrong with you, now schizophrenia can be painful to the mind, but that's a logical reaction emotion to being threatened from dark forces in your head, right? So it is quite scary, but fortune favours the bold. I went to school with people who probably, some of whom might have got into the SAS, frankly. They were really that elite and chipper in their high plane, richest, elitist mode of uber masculinity. And some of them were just champion warriors, frankly. I know one English guy I went to school with. He got 2 American medals in the Iraq and Afghanistan war. And you think, American medals, but you're English. And I'm like, haha. He saved Americans who were on our side, obviously. And he saved some Americans in a serious firefight. And he's got 2 Purple Hearts. I bet he's a proud sausage to some young nipper running around, as long as he's not already dead from a bullet wound. But I'm sure he's not. He was too good for that. He was one of the elite. But never mind. His name is Ed. And I won't give you his surname in case it's protected by some kind of MI5 or MI6 non-disclosure unit law. But his name is Ed. And he was always a bloody good chap. He wasn't a bully. He was a true warrior. He never bullied me. He was a leader of men. And he was a goodie. But some of them were right thugs. Ignorati. The ignorant and the bullies went together hand in hand. It's seen generation within generation. Bullies are ignorant. And you've got to stand up to your bullies. Otherwise, everyone lies in oppression. And under ignorance. And that's the worst kind of oppression. Oppression under God isn't that bad, because God is good, wise, loving and all that. And he's a supernatural entity. Whereas oppression under some ignorant fool, it's like, oh, there's so many to pick throughout history. No, not a good state of affairs for humanity, really, is it? Everyone's sad, everyone's depressed, and no one wants to live or party. There's no love. It's just evil, quasi-authority and discipline, and not much happiness. Not much spirituality either. They think all the supernatural and the spiritual awareness of reality and God is all hokum and woo, when actually it is the very essence of being a human being. But scientists have to boil it down to amoebas and Pyrex dishes, ignoring the very fact they have a beating heart generating a soul of potentially magnifiable, incredible properties latent within our psyche, if we choose to believe like the Wizard of Oz, or rather Dorothy in the Wizard of Oz. All the heroes of Hollywood, that's the one thing that kept me away from my dark theory for so long, because the good do win generally in Hollywood. But that could be this conceit in and of itself. I don't know. I see a hedgehog in the chandelier. And no, I'm not tripping. I can prove it now, immediately, and I'm going to, because I've had my say for this Christmas speech, as King Nu, the Lord of Champions as I am. Oh, so I like to think. Of course I'm not really. I can hardly pick up a dog shit on the pavement without going, ugh. But no, I'm going to prove there's a hedgehog in the chandelier. Robot hedgehog. Robot hedgehog has been in the chandelier for a long time, and it's time he came down for Christmas. Hello, Robot. Are you well?
Yeah.
It's good to see you again. I trust your nipples aren't too fresh.
Yeah.
Good. Good. You are a lovely little toy. No idea where I got you from, fucker. But there you are. You may stay now on a more ground level, less altitude, base reality. So it is with this thinking of the Christmas period, I'm brought to mind the real message of the Bible, which is love. And if you can't love, then genocide of the angels in the apocalypse where billions will be slaughtered in the wrath of God. And that's what always gets me barred and not allowed into Christmas parties, because Bible and holy genocide of angels go hand in hand in a world of sin. And generally, the first thing people want to do at Christmas parties is sin the fuck away. Take coke, get laid, go, all that shit. Well, they're all sins really, aren't they, technically? Let's be Puritan and honest about this. You might, if you're from a very teetotal, serious church, you may think having a beer and a smoke is a sin. But I don't think it technically is biblically. Not due to the fact that Jesus drank wine, which is stronger than lager, and I don't actually touch wine or hard liquor. But lager, a nice little beverage with a kick. And he said, drink this in memory of me. And so he's clearly in that statement defending the right to drink alcohol in his religion. And that is pretty much why we love Christ in the West. 1 point. Point 2. Cannabis is not a noxious substance. Cannabis, I believe, could be mentioned in the Bible in Exodus as the cannabosum ingredient in the cannabosum theory, which states that the actual definition of cannabosum in the Bible in the original Hebrew is cannabis, rather than what it's translated to in English when the scholars didn't actually know what they were talking about, fragrant cane, or calamus. And no one knows what fragrant cane is, and calamus is just, it's a bog standard reed plant or something, right? But cannabis, if it was that as an ingredient, now we're starting to understand a lot of things about love, peace, and the profundity of the Bible, the wisdom of Solomon, the prophecies of visionaries, the miracles coming true under prayer to God, and all these things. And I've had miracles come true under prayer to God. And they're irrefutable to me, right? I may not be able to prove it scientifically at this point in time toward another third party. However, I can safely say I've had 3 prayers answered in different ways in the supernatural field immediately. And they all shared one common theme, these 3 answered prayers. I prayed sincerely, solemnly, and from the base of my soul. It was a heavy prayer. And it didn't last long, not a long prayer, but a sincere prayer. There's a difference. You don't have to pray for hours and hours playing lip service to God for your mind. Pray from your soul. That's when God answers you. And so I hope you'll like this and find it quite interesting. Because I find it really interesting that there's a God, and yet I live in a world where I'm often persecuted, beaten up, hated, slandered, and all these terrible things, just for the known fact of this supernatural truth I wield. And I will die for it. I don't want to die for it, but I'll have to, because I'm not going to deny it. Right? Why should I? I know what's what. I know what happened to me. You don't. Right? How dare you speculate? You know better about what happened to me than I do in some kind of pseudo-logical quasi-intellectualism. It's a nonsense. It won't work. And thus, I carry this heavy knowledge of supernatural truth with me at all times, and it doesn't win me many friends, although I'm so glad I still have the ancient brothers I always had as a kid and through school, who I love very much. I have a small tribe of about 10, 12, 14 great allies. And that it just happens to be, I've got 10, 12 brothers. And they're awesome. They're family, pretty much. Family from another brother, mother and mother, with other brothers. But I guess I'm a hot kettle of worms. And in this kind of fleeting cows, I'm going to depart now, because I believe I've said all I was going to say. And if you don't believe me, well, there's not much I can do, really. But I don't understand why you should get hostile with my knowledge of God being opposed to your logical nonsense, or your logical sections of your brain, because it's not true. You're not right to be secular. You're not wise to be atheist. You are blocking out a whole aspect of your mind's power under the divine realm of God. And this is what is creating the quiet, silent schism in humanity. And people are dividing into cultures and tribes and nations in different places under different ideological guises. And without God, well, they're the ones you've got to watch out for. Because they tend to grow bubbles of evil. And with God, but skewed, also known as heresy, that too is a cesspit of ignorance. That's why it's so confusing to know there's a God or not, even though we do, and I do know. It's so impossible to explain to a rational human being, even a clever one. The truth is probably impossible to define by its inherent design. We just got to keep guesswork until we can define in a pithy truth the actuality of divinity in the spirit realm. Thank you very much. I hope you've stayed awake and tolerated this lengthy symposium and lecture into the wonderful nature of Christmas and how we're all affected by His Holiness, the Lord Jesus Christ. As Christians, it's Christmas.